Evening. Welcome to the in-person and virtual meeting of the Planning Development Advisory Committee of April the 8th, 2025. There are two meetings tonight, one being the Committee Adjustment. Will be rendering decisions on 3 minor variances. And the second meeting will be the planning portion, and there'll be no reports on that other than staff report dealing with some housekeeping items. Please note that the meeting is video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to the municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in the meeting, electronic means you're consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. So I'll start with the roll call. Amanda Knight.
Present.
Chris Picard.
Present.
Paul Sedra.
Present.
Kim McCarthy.
Here.
And then Councilor Johnson Poulos, I'm present as well. So let's go into our moment of reflection. Thank you. So item number 4, agenda, Lynn, could you read the resolution, including moving one item up?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, that the committee approves the April 8th, 2025 agenda as circulated, and that the committee approves the addition to the agenda as follows. Consent item 6.2, questions received from the committee members seeking additional information, and the corresponding responses provided by staff regarding the April 8th, 2025 Committee of Adjustment agenda. And that item 7.3, minor variance application D13 WIM be moved to 7.1 due to the recommendation for deferral of the application until a survey of the properties provided confirming the final location of the shed.
Okay, I have a mover and a second. Moved by Chris, second by Kim, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, next item, disclosure conflict of interest. Do we have any? None. Good, thank you. Move on to item number 6. Lynn, could you read the resolution?
That the Committee of Adjustment approves the minutes from the meeting held on February 11th, 2025.
Okay, can I move her? Jim, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we had the roll call, and I'd like to introduce a few more people. To my right is our Secretary Treasurer Lynn Banks, and to her right is our Township Planner Miho Sabawala. So let's get into the application for minor variance of permission on section 45 of the Planning Act. And we'll start the hearing portion of the meeting. And the purpose of this hearing is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or express views with respect to a minor variance application before us today. Township requests you please notify the Secretary of the Committee by email at lbanks@portsmouth.ca if you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding a specific application. The format of the hearing is as follows. I will read the application to be heard and ask staff to display the relevant information. Staff will then present the information report, specifically outlining the purpose of the application, summarizing compliance with Township's notification, and submission requirements or outlining staff comments. The applicant will then present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following this, the public can obtain clarification, ask questions, express their views on the proposal. You have maximum 10 minutes to speak. Following this, the members of the committee can likewise obtain clarification and ask questions. The member who should add a condition, I'll ask for a vote on the condition. The committee will deliberate the application with any approved conditions and render a decision. The decision will be subject to a 20-day appeal period. Okay, so we've agreed to move D13 WIM. We've asked Lakera Eric of 68 Jasper Heights. The variance requested would provide relief from section 14, table 14.1, site-specific provision number 86 to allow reduced front yard setback of 1.6 meters for existing shed instead of 2 meters as required. So The recommendation from staff is to defer this. I'd like to have an understanding of where the rest of the committee feels on this. Amanda?
Just a question in the agenda. It looks as though there was some sort of site plan provided. Who created that?
Oh,
You did that on your own?
yeah, I was, kind of helped with doing that with, the building permit side of it. And I asked if I could just transfer that over to the planning committee. And, when they reviewed it, Mr. Stapawala said that it needed some more. So when I first did it, I was told just put the critical ones that were, for the borders. That they wanted, additional ones of all the structures. And, like I don't have the original survey of the property when it was done, and the road was redone in the last, like year and a half, and all the pins were removed off of, from the road, so, like, it's changed a bit, and we were on the water, so it's hard to know where to measure from and whatnot, so, and it's pretty expensive to have the property surveyed.
Right.
I mean, for the critical measurement was the fund. So I didn't know if, I'll try and follow up as best I can to add. He said,
Well, I think you provide enough explanation, so.
Okay, so, I guess just one more point of clarification. The information provided on this sketch is based off of measurements that you've taken yourself.
yes,
I, being consistent with decisions in the past, I think we need to ask for the survey, yes.
Well,
Yeah, I think Chris makes a good point. Really can stay consistent.
Agreed.
okay. All right, so, and I'll read the actual decision, the item, and then we can vote on it. In the matter of section 45 of Planning Act as amended and new comprehensive zoning bylaw 023-2018 as amended, an application for minor variance requesting relief to permit a reduced front yard site setback of 1.6 meters for existing shed instead of 2 meters front yard setback. And go around the table, so we either approve, oppose, or defer. Amanda?
I would defer.
Deferred, okay, that's deferred. Okay, Mr. Westwall, it's deferred until conditions are met, and I'll come back here again with that. So you're free to leave.
Read the resolution. That report B 13-2025-007 entitled minor variance application B 13 WIM be received. And that the committee defer the application till the following item is provided, that the owner provides an appropriate site plan confirming the final location of the shed and existing buildings and structures showing each dimension to the property line.
Okay, I'm moving. All, okay, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we're moving to D 13, VAR, Barwell Scott, 6759 Laird Road West. The variance requester will provide relief from section 11.2, table 11.1 to permit the use of storage trailers, recreation vehicles, and boats, which is prohibited in the agricultural zone. The variance requested will provide relief from section 4.29A 15 to permit storage of trailers, recreation vehicles, and boats on a vacant lot, which is prohibited in all zones. So Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, outlining staff and agency public comments and recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, and notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comments were received. The township's public works, fire departments, and by law enforcement had no comments. NPG planning consultants, the township's planning consultants said that they maintain the opinion that the proposed use is not supportable through a minor variance application. And the planning justification brief provided by the applicant states as follows. Use generally complies with the intent and purpose of the township zoning bylaw considered in its totality. Section 5.2.13 of the township zoning bylaw recognizes the need to park or store recreational type vehicles and provides regulation for the parking of these types of vehicles within residential zones, along with regulations that restrict how many and where on a property these types of vehicles can be parked or stored. If these regulations cannot be met, the alternate parking arrangements are required. Subject property responds to this requirement by providing an appropriate alternate location to park such vehicles, thereby meeting the intent of the zoning bylaw that recreational vehicles be parked / stored in an appropriate location. NPG does not agree with the opinion that the establishment of a general need for a use is appropriate justification to support that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. And NPG notes that section 4.22 of the township zoning bylaw regarding outdoor storage areas and uses is applicable to the proposal. A zoning matrix should be provided addressing these provisions, and the application should address any deficiencies. And they further noted that section 4.2(a)(xb) of the township zoning bylaw prohibits the parking of storage of trailers or commercial motor vehicles on a vacant lot, and the application should address this provision. Township's building department said, as no buildings or sewage systems appear to be involved in this application, the building department has no comments. Sourcewater noted that the property is within a vulnerable area, and their review was completed to ensure that the activities of the property meet the requirements of relevant sourcewater protection plan and county Wellington official plan policies. They noted that a section 59 notice and risk management plan are not required for the proposal. However, if the nature of the development changes, notices may apply and a risk management plan may be required. Wellington Sourcewater Protection requests that the owners or their agents submit the following report to the satisfaction of the township risk management official. And that report that they're looking for is a liquid fuel handling, storage, and spill response procedure. During the pre-consultation meeting, the owner indicated they have created an emergency response procedure that includes a fuel handling, storage, and spill response procedure. It is requested that the emergency response procedure be provided. The GRCA said that the information available at their office indicates a portion of the property contains wetland and its associated regulated allowance. Due to the presence of the feature noted above, a portion of the property is regulated by the GRCA, and any future development or other alteration within the regulated area will require prior written approval from the GRCA in the form of a permit pursuant to Ontario Regulation 41/24. And based on their review of the materials, the proposed storage area is located greater than 30 meters from the wetland outside of GRCA's regulated area. Therefore, they have no objection to the proposed minor variance. The County of Wellington have advised that the subject lands are designated recreational, secondary, agricultural, and greenland system within the County of Wellington official plan. The proposed use appears to be located within the portion of the property within the recreational area designation. This designation establishes permitted uses within section 6.7.2 permitted uses, which may include commercial activities related to and serving recreational activities. Section 6.7.9 recreational commercial uses provides additional policy direction. This section directs that commercial facilities with service recreational vehicles such as trailer and boat sales and service, boat storage areas, etc., may be located in recreational areas provided all other policies of the plan are met. And that the township should be satisfied that the proposed facility is serving recreational areas within the community. Subject lands contain both core greenlands and greenlands features, including significant woodlands, wetlands regulated by the GRCA, and provincially significant wetlands. Development is not permitted within provincially significant wetlands, and the official plan directs that all other wetlands will be protected, and development that would seriously impair the future ecological functions will not be permitted. Section 5.5.4 woodlands directs that significant woodlands will be protected from development or site alteration which would negatively impact the woodland or their ecological functions. Further, section 5.6 development control provides that the development, including a change of use within 120 meters, may trigger the need for an environmental impact study as per section 5.6.3 of the official plan. Comments from the GRCA and the township ecologist should be considered, and township staff will need to be satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the Greenland system policies of the official plan. Section 2.6 of the official planning statement 2024 directs that new land uses on rural land shall comply with the minimum distance separation formula. Township should be satisfied that MDS requirements are met. And finally, township staff will need to be satisfied that the subject proposal is in conformity and consistent with the provincial policy and the County of Wellington official plan and meets the 4 tests on minor variance under the Planning Act 1990.
Thank you. Okay, would you, would the applicant, and or owner come to the front and, present the application?
I think we'll have, Scott, you can say that first. I think we'll have Chris and I
Sure.
and present and.
Sure, just
Okay.
state your name and address.
Sure, I'm Jeff Usman from Van Hart Surveying, and this is Chris Gorowski at Planner with Van Hart Surveying. And this is Scott Barlow, the owner of the property.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Scott lives over here. He has been storing trailers, RVs, boats, whatever, all in this area for the last 6 years or so. About a year or less ago, a complaint was filed and for infraction on zoning bylaw. So he had an order to deal with it. And so he's been dealing with that order. And one of the steps that we're here for now is to seek a minor variance to allow for the continued operation of this storage of recreational vehicles. We all know recreational vehicles, there's a demand for it. What's interesting is this is operated for 5 years before a complaint was even filed or has been a problem. I'm just gonna talk a little, we're looking at our strengths, Chris and my strengths. Chris is a planner and he's gonna focus on the planning side. And I'm gonna focus more on some other aspects, meaning more the situation that we have. This property was severed, as a 10-acre piece, I think. Doesn't really matter. It goes up here somewhere. A number of years ago, at that time, it had an official plan designation of recreational and a zoning of recreational. But at that time, when the severance happened, this was rezoned to be agriculture, like normal, if you will, in this area. But the official plan designation of a recreational stayed. Okay. What I think is very interesting about this property in terms of the operations. Firstly, Scott impressed me with his operations in that he has a thorough review of every trailer coming in. He has to show proof of insurance. He takes care of fuels and so on. He makes sure that these things are clean. If and pictures are taken when the trailer is put in and brought out. He's got secure access over here. Fortunately, it's, typical Puslinch that the land is fairly hard gravel. So all of the area is still grass except for the entrance. The entrance is a driveway and there's a gate there and security cameras. In terms of being an ideal site for storing trailers, it's fantastic in the sense that, as we can see, there's a lot of trees on both sides. This area is all bush and wetlands, so nobody's seeing it from this side. From the back, it's all vacant as well. No one sees it there. The closest house is Scott's, about 100 meters away, and about 300. The first house this way is about 300 meters. If you stand here, you can sort of see that house. I took a picture when I was out there. Yes, you can see the house, but I don't think you can really see the trailers. Here's a cemetery and then bush around it, and this is a quarry. So what's nice about it, we have no, if I'm gonna say, other than Scott's house, we have no residences that would consider this an eyesore, if you will. I know on Wednesday mornings in the summer, I go for a bike ride and we take this as one of our routes. And it took me a long time to figure out the trailers are even over there. So it's a well-hidden site, so it has lots of merits for it. These are evergreen trees in the front. And it's about, I forget, 20 meters worth of evergreen trees. Right now in the winter, what I find is the evergreen trees, the branches, probably the lowest branches are maybe this high. So when you drive by, you can see some of the trailers today. But in the summer, when the underground foliage is stronger, it would be harder to see. Scott and his wife have also planted a lot more smaller trees to go in there to improve have more growth and growth so that in the lower area you also have it's also sheltered. What's unique about this site relative to probably any other site in Puslinch, there's not very many that are designated recreational in the official plan. So this site could always stand as a unique situation that it has that designation up front. So I've kind of, and maybe you've read this already, these are details of the level of the work that Scott does in terms of the little things that he's got in there for a proper clean operation of this place. The other thing too is, we have these numbers here, but at least 30 meters here is clear, and the GRCA was fine with the relationship to the wetland. So I think I've given you a picture of the lay of the land, the basics of it, and I think it's appropriate for you to take over, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. And that's a great overview. And I think
There's another picture of the same
there's
thing.
another picture. I was just gonna say, I think the picture on the screen really kind of tells you all you need to know, but this one's pretty good too. This is just a little more detailed, and all we've done is identify the area where, you know, these vehicles park whenever they come to the site. They come in here through the gate. They have to check with Scott. Everybody who goes in and out of the site has to check with Scott. And it's a tight ship. It's run very securely. I think there's cameras. Vehicles are not allowed to park there if they're still containing fuel. You know, people can't stay on the property. They can't use their vehicles while they're on this property. It's a storage site for them, and open, I think, from April to October? November. Yeah. Winter. And you know, then the people that are in there, bring them in before it closes down, and they stay over the winter, go back and get them out in the spring. So, I mean, that's a very basic explanation of what's going on the site. And Jeff talked about the fact that, you know, because it's some Puslinch, you got lots of gravel. This was part of an old golf course property, and I think that it was intended at one point that if that golf course made it, which it didn't, the clubhouse would be on that part of the site, which makes sense. It's on the road. It's got a bit of prominence. So when Scott bought it about 8-10 years ago or so, I think it started off, you know, he had this space and people were just asking, like, you know, are you using that space for anything? Like, can I put a trailer in there? Okay, sure. Turns out that that's not permitted by the zoning bylaw, because as Jeff explained, about 15 years ago, the zoning on the property was changed on this part of the property. But importantly, the official plan designation didn't change. So it's now zoned agricultural. And it's always has been or continue to be designated by the county official plan as recreational, you know, to go along with the golf course. That made sense. So at the time that the lot was severed and the agricultural zoning was put on it, like really, that was a conflict. That use, the agricultural use generally does not comply with the recreational designation on the property. And the way things work typically in a municipal setup is you've got an official plan that provides sort of overarching land use guidance, and that guidance is implemented through a zoning bylaw. And generally speaking, you're not supposed to pass a bylaw that is contrary or conflicts with the official plan designation. It was passed, no big deal. There's another section in the Planning Act that actually says if a bylaw is passed, that is not in conformity with the official plan, it is deemed to be in conformity. So the agricultural use is there by virtue of that one clause in the Planning Act. It's a legal use. And when Scott got the bylaw contravention notice, he approached Van Harten and, you know, what can we do here? And really two options. One would be a zone change option. One would be a minor variance option. And, section 45(1) of the Planning Act does enable committees of adjustment to approve use variances. In order to do that, there are four sort of rule of thumb tests that typically go along that I know you're well aware of. It must be minor, must be desirable, must maintain the general intent of the official plan. Intent and purpose of the official plan must maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The word general, pretty important. And the word general is also used in section 45(1) of the Planning Act. It doesn't say that it has to exactly conform with, it says it must generally conform with it. And when what does the word general mean? So I looked it up. Cambridge Dictionary says, considering the whole of something, not just a specific part or not detailed, but including the most basic or necessary information. And that's from the Cambridge Dictionary. Webster says general means involving, applicable to, or affecting the whole, or concerned or dealing with universal rather than particular aspects. So in this case, we definitely comply with the official plan. This, because it's designated recreational, a use almost identical to the type of use we're describing here, or that's occurring here, is permitted by the text of the official plan. So there's no question there. And I don't think there's any disagreement on that from the township planners. Is it desirable? No disagreement that it probably is a desirable use. People have trailers, they need someplace to park them. Planning staff didn't express any real concern with that. Does it generally meet the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? We talked about the official plan, it meets that, but does it meet the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? And so, I went back, okay, what does general mean? Definitions, you look at the whole. So I looked at the whole of the bylaw, and it doesn't talk too much about storage areas for recreational vehicles specifically, except in the residential, in the general provision section of the bylaw, which is section 5213. It talks about regulations to control these types of vehicles more in a residential setting. So that being the case, if you take the general, take from the specific, go to the general, what the bylaw does is provide regulations to say, okay, if you've got this type of vehicle and you want to park it on your lot, here's where we'd like you to park it. We don't want more than one. We kind of want it in the, in the rear yard if possible, in the side yard, but not right out in the front yard because you can see it. So, as a planner, I take from that, the key things in terms of the general intent and purpose are, okay, the bylaw recognizes you got to park these somewhere. And the bylaw provides some very clear guidance in terms of on a residential lot where they can be located. And it basically says, we don't want these things parked in our face in non-planning terms. We want you to try and put them in the rear yard or somewhere where you're not really going to see them as much. And we don't want more than one on a lot. But if there are more than one, where do they go? So then, that gets me to the point where you need someplace to park them because clearly these vehicles are permitted in the township. And where could that place be? So, going back to the general principles that we talked about, a good place would be a place where, well, you can't really see them. And, it's not really impacting the property that these trailers or RVs are being parked on. No impact on that property. And it's not really impacting any other properties around there. And as Jeff said, if you're driving down Laird Road or biking down Laird Road, in the winter, if you're looking, you can kind of notice them. But in the summertime, not so much. And Scott and his wife have a tree planting program in place where they plant a bunch of trees every year. Some of them in those areas. And they do not cut any other trees. Like what you see there is the way it's been for a long time. And there's no intention to cut any more trees. So we've got a good lot. It's on Laird Road and Concession Road 10. Side Road 10, sorry, which dead ends just to the north of the property, right there. So the only people coming in on Side Road 10 are going to be Scott, who lives on the other side of the street, and people going in and out of there. Very good traffic situation, they're not interfering with traffic trying to move through the township. And people can come and go. There's a stop sign at Laird Road, controlled, all good. So in our view, or I guess in my view, based on looking at the bylaw, the letter of the bylaw is different than the purpose and intent. And I sort of gave you my reasoning for that. There are some sections of the bylaw that we did look at, and the township asked us to do that. And would we comply with those sections if we felt they had applied? So section 422 is the section dealing with outdoor storage uses. And there's a bunch of criteria there. And again, here it talks about storage permitted in rear or interior side yard, but not closer to 20 meters to any lot line abutting a street. Well, we've addressed that here. No outdoor storage located closer than 2 meters to any other lot line, addressed, not a problem. Outdoor storage, this one doesn't really apply, shall not exceed the lesser of 25% of the total lot area or total ground floor area of the principal building. There is no principal building, and so we can't use that, and the lot is quite big, so we comply with that one as well. No material other than 6 meters in height. Scott controls that. And in fact, I think he's trimmed the branches on the trees going into the driveway to allow for these types of taller vehicles. No derelict type vehicles are permitted. Again, we meet that test. It's only, people that have properly functioning type vehicles that can bring them in and out. And if they're being brought in, as I mentioned, Scott has control over, can't have any fuel in, you can't dump anything while you're in there, all those sorts of things. Outdoor storage not permitted within any yard abutting a residential zone. Well, there is really no residential zone close to here. And, if you wanted to try and find a lot anywhere that was kind of isolated, that had this kind of natural buffering built into it, like the trees along the perimeter of Laird and the perimeter of Side Road 10, and that you didn't have to do anything to the site in order to accommodate the use that you wanted to occur on that property. This would be the site. It's kind of invisible. So we comply with all of the criteria of that general section 422. So if you looked at that as another test, we meet that test. I also look, because it is zoned agricultural, it's a fact. They have standards in the agricultural zone for smaller lot agricultural parcels, like it's got to be at least 0.4 hectares, check. Minimum required frontage, 25 meters, check. Minimum required front yard, 7.5 meters, check. Interior side yard, 3 meters, check. Exterior side yard, 7.5 meters, check. Minimum rear yard, 7.5 meters, check. Doesn't really apply because there's no building to what's the rear yard. So when you look at that section of the agricultural zone, 11.3, we comply with that as well. So really, in terms of like metrics, regulations that, you have to be set back X amount, we comply with all regulations in the bylaw that would apply. So again, that supports my position that it is generally in compliance with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, which is to control, common sense control things so they don't bother other people, basically. Like, that's what zoning is all about generally. You want to impose control on a lot so that what you do on that lot doesn't have negative spillover effects on other lots. And that's what is happening on this lot. The township in the 4 tests also did not agree it's minor. And again, I, respectfully disagree with that. I think, it's minor for a number of reasons. It already exists. It existed for, 5 years or 6 years without any incident or complaint. And, we understand if a complaint is lodged, then the township has to follow up on it. And, but the fact is it's minor because it's already there. Like, we're not asking the township to approve anything that requires a whole bunch of work on the property. We don't even have to cut another tree. Like, we don't have to do anything to allow this use to continue. It's minor in the sense that this activity on this piece of property doesn't harm the property. It doesn't harm any neighboring properties. It can occur really without notice by the general public. But people that have an RV and need a place to park it know about it because they're hard to come by, and you need the right spot for it to occur. So the two main reasons why the township planners are recommending that it not be approved are because they don't believe it complies with the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and they don't believe it's minor. Yeah, you can't see it, really, you can't hear it. It creates no traffic issues. It operates with no alterations to the site being required. It occurs in harmony with the existing natural setting. Those trees actually provide little pockets for people to park. No expansion is contemplated or occurring in the future. It's innocuous. It's like by almost every measure, walks like a duck. It's minor. So, those are our views. And, I mentioned that there's a couple ways the Planning Act sets out that you can deal with zoning. And in this case, we've got a zoning infraction. And one of the things we wanted to do was clear the books on that zoning infraction. Scott's obviously a resident, ratepayer, I think volunteer firefighter. He's present on the site. He wants it to run smoothly because he doesn't want any problems. And I think people like to be on his site because they know it's well run. So if the use generally complies and conforms with the intended purpose of the zoning bylaw, if it is minor, township doesn't disagree that it complies with the official plan for sure. Township doesn't disagree that it's desirable. So township kind of planners agree 50% of the way. It's just these two things that I've talked about. Is it in general compliance with the intended purpose of the bylaw, and is it minor? We're not asking for any expansion rates. And one of the ways we can tie that down is just by using a little picture, plan, sketch, whatever you want to call it, like this, as a site plan to denote, okay, here's what's going on there today. And a simple agreement could be struck where Mr. Bardwell agrees, okay, that's it. We're not going to expand it any further. What you see is what you get. We will operate it as you see it today. So that addresses, any concern of sort of end of the wedge. And I know sometimes planning decisions are, the decision makers think about things like precedent. In this case, I don't think we really have to worry about precedent because, as Jeff talked about, it's unique by virtue of the fact that it's designated recreational by the official plan, which is the operational document in planning terms for permitted use. But it's zoned agricultural, so there, well, I don't know if there are any other properties in the township that are like that, but I didn't bother to check, but I highly doubt it. This was designated residential because of the golf course, which sort of failed, so. So we would ask the committee to please consider approving this variance request. It would be extremely helpful, I think, obviously to Mr. Bardwell, because he has an infraction to deal with. And I don't, know that the township probably wants to have those things hanging around for a long time either. If this can be approved, we sort of dispense with all of that. And by approving it, you're not inviting any new quote development. You're just really allowing what has been occurring there innocuously to continue to occur there innocuously. There are no residents that will be bothered nearby except for Mr. Bardwell. And he's more interested in planting trees and running a tight ship. There were a couple of conditions.
Are you done?
There were conditions if it was approved. One was site plan, 2 was the spill report, and 3 was,
The area,
sorry,
the area.
the area. That's right.
The area be limited.
Restricting the area, and we're good with all 3 of those things. And I guess the only other thing I would note, because I also went to the pre-con meeting, back last year, that, township engineer was there, Conservation Authority had comments there as well. And the township also had its environmental consultant, NRSI, there. Nobody had an issue with this, especially once they saw the operational sort of summary of what's going on the site. So,
All right,
that's it, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Hey, Lynn, are there any registrants who have requested to speak?
No, Mr. Chair, there are not.
Okay, and are there any written comments that have been received, Lynn?
No, Mr. Chair, we do not receive any.
And Nicole, would you please advise whether there are any attendees watching the hearing would like to provide comments or ask questions regarding the application currently underway?
Mr. Chairman, we don't have anyone attending online.
Okay. So we'll turn it over to the committee to ask questions of the applicant. I'd like to also point out that our principal planner, Jesse Aspis, is in the audience.
Yes, it's in the audience,
So you
joining
can,
online.
so you can ask him questions as well. Specifically, he's reviewed the report that Nihul had provided. Okay, Amanda.
I don't have any questions per se. I appreciate the comprehensive presentation and the type of business that is being run. Obviously, I wasn't around when the zoning was put on the property, but the fact of the matter is that it is zoned agricultural, and this isn't a permitted use under that zone. And so I guess my comment is just that I would agree with staff's assessment that it's not minor in nature, and I don't think that I could be supportive of this.
Chris.
Michael Man's comments, excellent presentation. If I had an RV, I'd be signing up to start immediately. But like my colleague, I think the struggle for me is just to make a comment and give you a chance to answer is, it sounds to me like the zoning bylaw is really clear. We don't allow storage like this under the current zoning on a vacant lot. But you've got a really compelling case for a zone change. But I don't quite get to its minor in nature yet. No, I think that's a stretch too far for me this evening.
Oh,
Just a quick question. Well, I'm not sure. I don't think it was covered there unless I missed it. How many trailers would be parked at one given time at capacity?
Approximately 80.
80. Approximately. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question of Jesse Aspis. You there, Jesse?
Yes, I'm here.
A question for you. The applicant has made a statement that the agricultural zoning does not apply to any official plan. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, so the applicant is correct in stating that the property is presently zoned agricultural. So as the decision was made to rezone the property to an agricultural zone, it is deemed to conform to the official plan because the decision had or has been made.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, so let's go around the table and I'll read out the actual item under discussion and we'll, either approve.
Mr. Chair, can we respond to the comments?
No, I think we're good. In the matter of section 45 of the Planning Act as amended and the zoning comprehensive zoning bylaw 023-2018 as amended, an application for minor variance requesting relief to permit the following: outdoor storage of trailers, recreation vehicles, and boats, whereas section 11.2 of the township zoning bylaw does not identify the outdoor storage of trailers, recreation vehicles, and boats as a permitted use. The outdoor storage of trailers, recreation vehicles, and boats on a vacant lot, whereas section 4.2915 of the township zoning bylaw prohibits the parking, storage, or storage of trailers or commercial vehicles on a vacant lot. So the either we approve, deny, or deferred. And if it's denied, the reason is the general intent and purpose of zoning bylaws not maintained in accordance with the report. And in the opinion of the committee, the variance is not minor in accordance with the report. So go around the table. And
It's a harsh word, but I have to go with deny.
first,
I would deny.
Paul,
Deny.
and I would deny as well. Okay, so the decision is subject to a 20-day appeal period.
Thank you.
The resolution reads that report 13-2025-005 entitled minor variance application D13-BAR be received, and therefore the committee does not consider the request minor and denies the application.
Okay, mover, all, second, all in favor? All right. Right, let's move on to the next one. D13, Troy, 4523 Victoriaville Road, whereas the variance requested would provide relief from section 4.4.2, table 4.1 to allow reduced interior side yard setback of 0.76 meters for the existing shed instead of 2 meters as required. And would you please summarize the application, notification, submission requirements, and outlining staff, agency, and public comments and recommendations?
Notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, and notice requirements for the application have been met, and the following comments were received. Township's fire department, bylaw enforcement, and public works departments all had no comments. Building department advised from building code standpoint, a shed with setback of 0.76 meters is acceptable if no openings are proposed along the property line. The applicant has applied for a building permit for the shed in question, and it is currently under review. Further technical requirements will be addressed through the building permit process. Source Water has advised that since this property is located in a vulnerable area, but the activities as indicated would not create a significant drinking water threat, the application can be screened out, and it does not require section 59 notice under the Clean Water Act. And further noted that they may provide comments on any future applications subject to this property given the vulnerable areas. The GRCA noted that information currently available at their office indicates that the subject property contains a regulated allowance adjacent to floodplain and wetland. Due to the presence of these features, a portion of the property is regulated by the GRCA under Ontario Regulation 41-24, and any future development or other alteration within the regulated area will require prior written approval from the GRCA in the form of a permit pursuant to Ontario Regulation 41-24. And also noted that the storage shed is located outside of the regulated area associated with the natural hazards noted above, and as such, the GRCA has no objection to the approval of this application. And the County of Wellington has said that the subject lands are designated as secondary agricultural or greenlands and greenlands in the county official plan. Identifying features include significant woodlands and provincially significant wetlands. It is noted that the existing structure is located within the Greenland system, significant woodlands. Sections 5.5.4 of the official plan protects significant woodlands from development or site alteration which would negatively impact them or their ecological functions. The township will need to be satisfied that the official plan policies regarding the greenland systems are met.
Okay. Assume you're the applicant, and you please state your name.
First name Troy, last name Cox.
Okay, and your address is,
4523 Victoria Road South.
okay, great, shows all yours.
Perfect. Lynn, do you happen to have the other photos I sent, they were in a Google Drive?
Yeah, if you go into.
Just. We can start here. So this is the, shed, the existing shed here. And, this is what we're talking about here is the 0.76 meters from property line. This shed was initially put in this position here because it is over 2 meters away from an existing old, they call it the old fence line that runs the entire length of the property, about just over 3,000 feet back. Van Harden had done this site plan here, and as you can see, it's hard to kind of know here, but as you follow this fence line the entire way, there are stakes in the middle of the fence, the snake's fence the entire way, except for when you get to here. As you continue down here, stakes are back on the fence line again. The reason for this line being moved here is when a staff member from Van Harden came and they were searching for the corner of this property here, they had found a piece of metal in the ground, and this was a bar. It was laying on the ground, it was bent in a 45-degree, and I had said to him, that can't be your stake, because I know all the stakes are wooden, sometimes they have metal underneath them. And he said, if there is metal there, I have to go by it. And I said, well, the rest of them, you're following the fence, why would you move in now? He says, if it's metal, we have to go by it. After the fact, I had contacted to see if we could redo it. And Jeff had mentioned, no, we've been out, we can't do it again. At this time, it's starting to be winter. And this finally here, just from the other day, I was able to take pictures. So you'll see the fence in here as it snakes down, and you click over. It's hard to see here, but all of these measurements are taken. If we keep clicking along, you'll be able to see the tape measure. So right here, so 2 meters roughly is about 79 inches. We're at 88. That's from the front side of the shed. If you do the next picture. So you can see I'm standing on the fence line here. I'm still not at the fence, and we are at 91 inches. So over 2 meters away. Well, this is the back side of the shed. So the fence runs down along here and continues on. The stake that was found was wedged in the base of this tree. Obviously, I cannot judge what they're going by, that's their job, but I did ask, is there a way we do it by satellite or anything to see it? And they say, no, if it's there, we have to go by it. But if you do follow this fence line, so this broken fence, like I said, the entire way, the stakes are always directly in the middle of the fence for 3,000 feet. Except for this spot. So I've applied for the minor variance to, obviously, it's the easier way than trying to redo an entire site plan again and have them come out and redo all this.
Okay. Hey, Lynn, are there any registrants?
No, Mr. Chair, they're not.
Okay, any written comments?
No, Mr. Chair, we did not receive any.
Nicole, are there any attendees?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so let's go around the table.
No comments for me.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Are there any openings on the back of that shed facing the property line?
Any openings?
In the shed?
No.
Well, one of the conditions is that the has no openings along the property line.
So just, can you clarify what you mean by openings?
A window?
Oh, no.
Or a door?
No, no doors, no windows, nothing. It's just a closed shed.
Okay, I'm facing. the
Both,
property.
yeah, for all sides. There's just a door in the front.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
It's just for storing the garden, so.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, let's, I'll read the docket again. In the matter of section 45 of the Planning Act of the Met and New Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 23 2018 as amended, an application for a minor variance requesting relief to permit a 0.76 meter setback of interior side yard for the existing shed instead of a 2 meter interior side yard setback as required. And the conditions are, one, that the owner apply and receive an approved building permit for the shed, and two, the shed has no opening along the property line to satisfaction of township. Okay, so again, approved, opposed, deferred.
Approved.
Approved. Approved.
And I approve as well. Okay, and subject to 20-day appeal.
Yep, thank you. One question, while we're here, I'm going for the building permit, and the last request I have, whether we can talk about this, because obviously it's different than the minor variance. Was to have an engineer sign off on the shed. I've been working on that now for close to 8 months. And very difficult to have someone kind of do that wasn't for any shed, like that they didn't build kind of thing. Is there any, like, can I get I've called pretty much everybody I can, I can't seem to find anybody. And I don't know if there is someone you work with in general all the time for something like that, or if you have a recommendation at all.
No, I don't,
Okay,
Through the chair, we can't make recommendations
Yeah, I
for
understand.
engineers. You could speak with Andrew, see if he has an alternate
okay,
suggestion, the
Okay.
CBO. I know you've been dealing with
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 them
your
on
building
file permit,
permits.
yep,
I would give him a holler and see what, maybe he has a suggestion or
okay,
a workaround for it.
okay, sounds good.
what's the size of the shed?
17 by 23.
It's too big. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right,
Okay, perfect, thank you.
all right, have a good one.
You too.
Okay,
Can I read the resolution?
Steph, please do.
The report D 13/2025-006 entitled minor variance application D 13 CLX be received, and whereas the variance requested would provide relief from section 4.4.2, table 4.1 of Township Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2018-023 as amended, requesting permission to allow a 0.76 meter setback of an interior side yard for the existing shed instead of a 2 meter interior side yard setback as required. And whereas this application is required as a condition of consent application B 824, was conditionally approved in April 2024. Consent application would sever 0.38 hectares vacant land to be added to the adjacent land for residential use within the secondary agricultural area. That's not right.
It's not right. No.
Take that in. Whereas the minor variance application would maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw is considered minor in nature and is desirable and appropriate for the development of the subject property, and therefore the committee approved the application with the following conditions: that the owner apply for and receive an approved building permit for the shed, and that the shed has no opening along the property line to the satisfaction of the township.
Okay, mover. None. Chris, all in favor? All right. New business, none. Okay, Chairman of Committee Adjustment, Lynn, you want to?
New business, did you want to discuss the conference?
We can do it on the PDAC, so we don't have to,
Okay.
we can do it here too, sure, let's do it here, okay, let's do it here. Okay, then you want to take it?
So there is, the Ontario Association of Committee of Adjustment Conferences in the Blue Mountains, this year. I did send the committee the email about the conference. So the township has a budget for 2 people to attend one day or for 1 person to attend for both days. I'm just looking at to see if anybody, any of the committee members are interested in attending. It looks like it's a really good agenda.
And so I'm gonna suggest that Chris attend at least.
I will do one, I can do the 13th anyway, yes.
I'll confirm the date, maybe I'll do the other date.
Okay, but,
What was it, 13, 14?
no, 12,
12, 13?
anybody else? Mhm, okay. Okay, Paul, so.
Unless, I mean, if you'd like to go instead, I'm totally good with
As long
that.
as you guys fill us in on what you
Well, I'll
learned.
confirm, and then if I, whatever reason I can, then
Yeah, can you just let me know, then I
I'll let you
can let the other committee members know.
Yeah, okay,
Want me to read the resolution again?
yeah, sure.
That the Committee of Adjustment receive item 8.1 for information, and tentatively Chris Card will attend on the 13th and Paul Cedra will attend on the 12th.
Okay, mover. And second, Tim, all in favor? All right, so now we get to adjourn.
That the Committee of Adjustment hereby adjourns at 8 o'clock.
Okay, move her. Oh, second, Kim, all in favor? Great, thank you. All right, so let's move into the next item. To call the meeting to order. This is the Planning Development Advisory Committee meeting for April the 8th. 2025, with a roll call. Amanda Knight,
Present.
Chris Picard, President, Paul Sedgwick,
Present.
Jim McCarthy. And I, Councilor Johnson Cruz, I'm present as well. And we have no land division or zoning bylaw applications to review. We just have a staff report dealing with goals and objectives. So I'll do go through the customary agenda, movement and reflection. Okay, and then have a definition agenda.
That the council, the committee approves the April 8th, 2025 PDAC agenda as circulated.
Okay, mover. Amanda. Tim, all in favor? Okay. So, any disclosure conflict of interest? None? Okay, consent agenda 6.1, February 11, 2025, planning development meeting minutes.
That the Planning and Development Advisory Committee approves the minutes from the meeting held on February 11th, 2025.
Okay, mover. Paul? So, Chris and Paul, all in favor? Thank you. So 6.2, then you want to talk to that a bit? Yeah, this is the council committee that review.
So this is something that we're pulled together for all of the committees, the township committees. Just providing an overview of what the committees are working on, what they are considering, what they've completed, covers all the committees in the township. And then they did speak about the Committee of Adjustment, approved 14 minor variance applications, and PDAC made comments on 27 applications and 5 zoning bylaw amendments in 2024. So that's pretty good.
Any comments? Anybody else have any comments? No? Okay. All right. So let's go all the way down to 9.3.
And that is the staff report. So the purpose of this report, well, the recommendation is that the staff report PDAC 2025-002 regarding terms of reference and changes to the PDAC committee goals and objectives be received. And that the committee member, Kim McCarthy, be appointed to the Planning Development Advisory Committee Subcommittee for housekeeping recommendations.
Okay,
So we finally can have that position.
okay, discussion. Okay, Amanda.
No comment?
Very cool. Okay. No comments? Okay. So I guess we just want to get some timing on getting this done. So what's the best way to get it done from timing wise? Is it something that each of you want to arrange with Lynn separately, or there's the two of you there, the two of you here?
So through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I believe, Mehul, you've been working on the housekeeping amendments for the zoning bylaw. So we were just thinking that maybe Paul and Kim, you can meet with Mahul and I sometime,
Sure,
just in a
yeah.
virtual meeting, just
Yeah.
to see what you recommend, and then the same thing with,
Yeah,
Chris
we
and
can start from
Amanda.
there.
We'd set up a separate meeting, just because trying to corral everybody with schedules.
Yeah.
It takes some time to do. I can also mention that, Chris and Amanda have done the minor variance questionnaire, it went out last year. They're working on their subcommittee report to the committee for the next meeting. If you want to expand on that.
No,
We're not.
no,
Oh, you're
it's,
good.
it's coming together. It's gotta be done by a week Friday, because I disappeared for a while, but, so. Waiting for comments, but, yeah, it was actually a good exercise. Interesting.
Yeah, it allowed us to
interesting
see
results.
what our weaknesses were and what could be fixed.
Yeah,
So you're gonna bring that here to listen?
yes, so that will come back. I'm sorry we're delayed, but we finally got there.
Well,
Yes.
some of that's my fault. I've been trying to corral
Yeah,
things together.
It's all of us, it's all of us. And then there was also there was the PDAC one as well, where we'd written a letter. I'm going off topic a little bit. We'd written a letter to the county about some improvements in that process.
Yes, we have not heard a thing back.
Can I just, so, cause I have notes written from that meeting, it was over a year ago now when Jeff was here, I guess. And when you guys, that subcommittee took over that, what are we really focusing on?
Your committee?
Yes, we gotta refresh that a little bit, so we kind of, Kim and I.
Yeah, I'm not too
Because I-
aware, to be
Go
honest.
ahead, go ahead.
So basically based on, so YouTube based on severance applications.
Yeah.
Things that came up in severance applications that we could just put into the housekeeping amendment in the zoning bylaw so that it clears up. And I think there were a couple of items that came up.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with minor variances. There were a couple of things that came up that we could,
I know Google has the list.
you know, we, like the
Yeah.
apron in the driveway was one of them
Yeah.
from last year.
Okay.
That was a minor variance.
Was it minor variance?
Yeah,
Roof heights and driveway pavement.
Yeah.
Oh, roof heights, right, so.
That was it, yes.
Yeah.
But I know Google has the list and we rely on him.
So
Okay,
it'd be good to
let's
have,
do
and he
that.
can, yeah.
So we'll set up a time, 4 of us can start that.
Yeah. And Mehul could go over the list with us. and
Okay,
That might,
sounds good.
And the thing you might want to consider, some of these properties have a severance and a minor variance tied together. And the question is, what should come first of
Yeah.
severance or the severance application, the minor variance type of thing, so. That might be something you may want to wrestle to the ground.
that would be a really good one. Yeah, because the county says that we want the minor variance first, the county wants the severance first.
Okay.
So we can come up with a standard.
Yeah,
for
sure,
doing-
yeah. Something like that would make sense, yeah. And yeah, any other issues similar to that,
Okay, got it.
okay, any other discussions? No? Okay,
Read the resolution for that?
yeah, sure, go ahead.
That report. PDAC 2025 002 2022 2026 committee goals and objectives to be received for information. And that committee member Kim McCarthy be appointed to the Planning and Development Advisory Committee, Subcommittee Housekeeping Recommendations.
Hey, move it. First, second, all in favor? Okay. Correspondence none, new business, anybody have any new business? No? Okay, none, adjournment.
That the Planning and Development Advisory Committee hereby adjourns at 8:08 PM.
Okay, move it. Amanda, second, Paul, all in favor? Great.
Thank you.